All right, y'all, what's going on? Welcome to the Confidence Catalyst podcast, which is run by Authentic Glow Coaching. And so, yeah, uh, why is that people will want you to not have any money? Okay, and this is where you have to really understand this in order to feel like your confidence is going to guide you and lead you into the person that you're dreaming about becoming. Now, I know this is going to sound really sad, and it is. And when you figure out those people and the why behind why it is that they want you to have not, okay, and you will realize that some people are just that way. Some people just aren't really raised around people who have good financial examples. They're just not around anybody who is really authentic, who really is glowing, and when they're around, like they don't have that. And so when you come around and they're like, oh wow, well, every time we have something, somebody always has something going on to say, so we're gonna do the same thing to them. And that's what they do. Now, that's why it's extremely sad, because we know that this is derogatory. We know that we crave being around people who encourages us to shoot for the stars and reach for the stars and accomplish our dreams and our goals. Like, we really are looking and craving for that particular type of example. And as you grow up and as you grow into the young men and young women that God has ordained us to be and to become, we realize with a sense of sadness that sometimes people can really wish us to not have money. And what happens if we don't have money? If we don't have money, then we can most likely not really lead the life of our dreams or really accomplish the goals that we have set in motion for ourselves. And then we become a lesser version of what it was that we were created to be. And that's a really sad moment to have, as a realization that exists in this world, that's really a thing. And when we really get to that point, it's like, oh wow, oh my God, why did I even let this idea and person premeditatedly overtake precedence over the things that I really wanted to accomplish in life? What is really the point behind behaving that way? And when you get those answers, you have to kind of sort of apply them in a manner that aids in achieving your goals. And that way you continuously build your confidence. So that way you can get rid of those entities who wish you that particular type of outcome. And yes, I said that. And that's what you're going to have to do in order to look out for yourself, your way to manifest the things that you're dreaming about, and to have a sense of you've chosen for yourself well. You've chosen a person for yourself who is an embodiment of what a protector is, according to what your thoughts are. And as soon as you do those things, you will realize how quickly those people who really wished you not to have that particular monetary mindset will eventually just go away. They really will just pick up on a hint, or either if they don't, somebody else will. And therefore, that reminds me of having those moments where it's like, I got shot down, but a few weeks later, in order of retaliating, somebody else beat you to the punch. That's a 50 Cent lyric, if anybody is curious. But if you know what I mean? So that's a perfect example of, eventually they can say what they want and wish things on you. That's cool, because that's their decision. But when you're in confidence, you have to get to that point. You have to get to that point where, wow, okay, whatever. Well, you know what? That was wrong. You did say that. And actually, I did feel a certain way about that. And instead of reacting about it so quickly to a point where you jeopardize what your dreams were, you have to stop and be like, oh wow, damn, I mean, I did have that moment and I did have those feelings. Yes, this is true, but I see somebody else had it more intensely than I did. And that's why the aggressor, whoever the person was that caused you some kind of intent on a lapse in your confidence, may have made an error to that point where an enemy was more so at the ready than you may have thought at that particular point in time. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that is not true. Again, your confidence boosters means that you have to sit with that. You have to literally sit with yourself. And when you sit with yourself and you really are in a moment of like, wow, did this even really just happen? And when you do that, you really are allowing your confidence to kind of sort of go to the levels that are necessary to achieve what it is that you're dreaming of. Okay. And that's difficult. That's really hard to allow people's wishes, even when they are derogatory. Because anybody who wants you to live in poverty and not have the things that you're dreaming about, and not have money in your pocket, and not have a way to build a life that you see as fit for what it is that God has put into your own heart, is ultimately a person where you need to make sure it's no longer readily accessible, in that sense that they can constantly have access and make the things that you are choosing to pursue more so out of reach than within. Now, what does that mean? That means that people who think that way eventually will understand that the distance grows naturally. And that's just the way that certain behavioral, social, confident young ladies are when it comes to dealing with the things that they're dreaming about. In order to achieve those things and just even to obtain money, it takes a certain type of mindset. I was reading Napoleon Hill, and Napoleon Hill was basically talking about how we have to have debt wiped out as a mindset that's overwritten by a more positive train of thought. And that's how you eventually learn that debt is wiped out, because you chose to master your positivity, and because you became positive, your debt decreased. That is where you realize that because your positivity and your thought processes of being so cheerful and happy increased, you realize that the negative thoughts behind your debt decreased. And it's just unforgiving that you actually are able to witness those particular types of things. Now, myself today, my hands hurt. I have a million reasons why I cannot get on here and speak and go into our podcast, is because the devil is so busy. You know what I mean? Like, I constantly see somebody at the side of this window now, and every time I turn around, it's headlights. Every time I turn around, it's somebody else pulling up. Every time I turn around, somebody else is in the driveway. Every time I turn around, somebody's driving down the street. Every time, and I don't mean just coming down the street. I mean they just riding down the street, and it's like, oh, okay. As soon as it got quiet, here they come back again, driving down the street. And instead of enjoying that silence, so that's what I mean. Every time I turn around, somebody else again is driving down the street. Now, again, you hear all of the drama that goes on. Why don't you just stay at home? Why do you have to just kind of sort of have? And then we get to the point then where we have to put certain issues in place. Okay, it's a curfew. When we had COVID, we had curfews, right? You see what I mean? We weren't even allowed to be out after a certain time frame. And if we did, what? We were punished. It's really just as simple as that. And now it's really sad, because it's like as soon as we lift all of the different little things, we begin to forget. But where we're at in our corner of the universe, it's unwise to forget too quickly. That means 6 feet. There was a moment where if you weren't in line, you were not allowed to stand right beside anybody any longer. You had to create space, 6 feet worth of that space. And if you didn't, there were so many viral videos of people coughing on one another amid the pandemic, spitting on one another, and increasing that fear of the contagion. And we did so with intent to cause harm, to cause discord and confusion, which is a really sad factor, as those moments as we go into these new years, to realize that is what's riddled within our history of Americans. And this is really sad. I never forgot this, but I had read that somebody that was out in the other countries looked at Americans as being spoiled. And I was just like, I hate to be on your side, because we in America, in Ohio, but I could not agree with this entity more. And because every time I'm working or I'm with somebody or I'm out and about, it's amazing the things that we witness when it comes to dealing with people's behavior. It's like, wow, you really believe that something is owed to you. Like, you really think that just because you are alive and that you're here, that you're entitled. It's like there's no work ethic. There's nothing about you that says I left anything better. I didn't even try to leave anything better. I just got sick. I collapsed, and I'm done. I'm tapped out the game. Whatever. Do whatever you need to do. And again, so when you are in that moment and you are like just really, really trying to manifest the things, and people call it manifestos, or they really have those moments where they just are like, you know what, I need money to go out here, I need money to travel to this state, to this country. You know, how many people got different houses and vacation houses and cars? And, you know, don't get me wrong, I love a good vacation house. I don't think nothing's wrong with switching cars when the seasons change, going from the convertible to the SUV in the winter months from summer. You know, I get it, I understand it. But does each and every single last one have to be brand new off the lot? Why not have maybe, okay, let's say we in 2026, so a Corvette or the convertible drop top or whatever, let's say can be a 2015. This is a nice, really good condition, and fine, okay, cool. I see that more so than I'm like, I'm not going to do those things. I can see that necessarily, so to speak. And maybe you have like a 2022 as a SUV with brand new tires. Like, okay, that's cool. Because the winters are really treacherous in Ohio. So I totally understand the point of having a more roomier car. You know what I mean? And even when you get to the confidence level of having your cars and your emergency kits. Now, let's say you're on the road and you are traveling. Like I said, Ohio has really treacherous winters. So you packing, you have your food, you have all of the emergency kits that you need, your blankets, you have the extra tank of gases. My ladies, if you can get the tanks of gas with those little plastic extra little gas cans, fill up those 2 or 3, 4 or 5 at a time if you can, whenever you're able to. Maybe it's the first of the year, it's your income tax or something. That's a really wise investment, and try to keep that in your car. Now be very careful, be very mindful. There's no lighters or nobody smoking or ashes or nothing like that, because it's flammable and you will get hurt. But if you take that time out and you are stranded, or you do need to do whatever else, and you short on cash and you strap for money to get more gas, you can always just feel like, okay, cool, actually I have another one at the ready, and I'll just do that. And you can bypass going to the gas stations, which is also a really cool thing to do. But when you get around to those people who really feel as though it's something wrong with a young lady necessarily having money in her pockets, to actually feel as though you're in a decent vehicle and you have to put these food and these items into the emergency kit so that you and your family can go from point A to point B very safely and very serenely, you know, those people need to get cut off. I'm just going to say, and you have to do those things with confidence, because there's no way that you'll put somebody else's thoughts and opinions that is revealing themselves as such over the well-being of yourself and the wellness of your children or of your child and or your spouse or just anybody who's really been good to you sincerely through and through. I'm just like, what type of person is this? And when you really realize that the woman that you're growing into, or the woman that you've been dreaming about, or the woman that's the entity of what your dreams are, and you know for a fact in your heart of hearts that the people who encourage you and help you and understand why that is something that is of a necessity, and they put you on, and they do allow you to manifest that particular type of woman or that particular type of idea as you move forward into the things that you were thinking about and you're dreaming about, and as your dreams manifest and they've helped you, they're in harmony. Those type of people deserve you know what I mean, a passenger seat. They deserve to have a few blankets in there underneath that keeps them warm. Like, they are deserving of that particular type of full tummy. Like, they deserve the things that they have according to how they have helped you in those moments and those ideas and spaces where they found that you were in a need as well, and they gave those things to you. But again, that takes confidence. Most people are really scary. They don't even want to be seen with you. They don't even want to be seen with anybody that may even resembles them. Like, they're fearful. They're so scared of what is it that the other people are thinking, or what somebody else is going to think. And that immediately stops their thought from manifesting into something that's really beautiful. And I find that really, really, really sad. As a young lady, you know, you have to learn how to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and set an example. So I hope you all have liked and enjoyed this particular podcast for today's lesson. I didn't mean for this one actually to take up as much time as it did. So please don't, I hope that you are going to like the video and subscribe to our channel as well. This is the glow ticket topic, the conversations that truly matter. We put the Q in client confidence, okay, because our clients simply glow. So again, I thank you all so much for watching. I look forward to talking to you all again here soon. Like I said, I just wanted you all to check back. I have no set day, and particularly speaking, that the podcast is dropped. So I'm so sorry for that. But again, always make sure to check back. We're always dropping new content. And I thank you all so much for watching and staying here and being with us. If you did like the video, you can always feel free to leave a comment, some kind of heart emoji, or just a simple comment of why you thought the video really resonated with anything it is that you may have going on, or that you may have thought of, or anything that you may be thinking about in the long run. And what part really resonated well? For myself, it's probably necessarily, so to speak, the emergency kits, for sure. Maybe the roads and the weather, how that ultimately plays a really big role in how we handle our finances and our money. So again, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to talking to you all again in the next episode. This is season 2, episode 3. All right. Thank you all again so much. Bye-bye.